Hi everyone, Heather Steves here, and today I want to share with you this fun art journal page I made to hold some ATC cards. I grabbed these stamp holder pages from a thrift store. They just have these tiny little pockets. They're meant for postage stamps, and I thought I could play around with them. So I grabbed out the page frame from the Let It Snow 2049 art journal set, and I used that to cut out my base page. So I ran it through my die cutting machine back and forth 3 or 4 times just to make sure that it went through. It's quite thick, but it did cut through quite nicely. And now I have this little page with these little tiny pockets in it. So I grabbed some washi tape, but then I realized I should round the corners. The original corners are already rounded, so I wanted to make them match. And then I wanted to color this card. So I grabbed out my craft mat, and then I'm just flipping through all of my Elizabeth Craft little journal stencils, and I'm going to pick 3 or 4 of those, and then I'm going to start to create with them. So I love picking things up at the thrift store. So in addition to these weird stamp pages, I also grabbed these punch cards. So those are for a time clock. I grabbed a whole bunch of those, and they're the same color. So I thought that they would be perfect to use to create my actual ATC cards. So I grabbed out my peeled paint and mowed lawn distressed oxides, and I'm just using those with the stencils to color my card. This set is part of the ATC Prompts 2024. So this is the February prompt. Only 2 colors, and so basically my 2 colors are green and yellow, cream. I'm not sure what you want to call the card bases. So I'm just using the 2 colors. I'm pulling out the different stencils and just creating a little bit of a background on these cards. Because those pockets are so shallow, it's really hard to decorate them with too much because the pockets don't go very deep and they're very narrow. So I thought it would be best just to actually use the stencils and to create a pattern on them. So just layering those 2 different colors together to create a bit of a pattern. So I just like to make sure that I get as much of my Distress Oxide ink off of my brush as possible. So that was what I was doing there on the scrap paper. And now I just grabbed some washi tape from my stash, and I'm just folding that over the end. So this is the cut end, and I want to make sure that those pockets are secured on the edge and that they're not going to flap around loose at all. So I was going to put some washi on the opposite side as well, and then changed my mind and decided not to. So instead, I ended up inking the edge of the base page with my ink here just to try and give it a bit of a finished look on the outsides. And now I'm going to start to work on these timesheet cards, and I'm just going to do the exact same thing, and I'm going to go over them with the same stencils and the inks and just create a bit of a pattern on both of those. You'll notice that I am doing it on the printed side. I think it's kind of neat the way the printing shows through, and it becomes part of my background as well. Since I wasn't totally sure exactly how I was going to use these pieces yet, I decided to go ahead and ink the background as well with the stencils to create a pattern on both sides, just in case I ended up doing some die cutting and I had both sides visible. So while I was doing all of that stenciling, I kind of came up with a bit of a plan for what I was going to do. So now that everything is all stenciled, I grabbed another card and I'm just inking the back because I want to create a matte layer for the ATC cards. So then as I started, I thought, oh, I don't want to ink the whole thing. So I just cut out my ATCs and then I'm inking just those. So I'm just taking that one ink and just going over it, even though you won't really see the middle. I went through the whole thing and I just covered it all just to be sure. And because you will see a bit of the border as well as the full back, I went ahead and did both sides and had them completely inked. So I use the ATC Special Kit, the stitched card, and then the base card for these. So this one I'm cutting with the stitched card, and I'm cutting out just 2 of them. So I'm just figuring out where I want to cut them from those stenciled cards, and then I'm going to start to work on the actual cards. So I grabbed the dies from 2050, the Snow Village. So these are little trees and little houses, and I just have some cardstock that coordinates nicely with this green color. And I'm just going to cut out some of those pieces and then figure out how I'm going to piece them together onto these cards. This is actually my first time using this set, and so once I cut out the houses, I didn't realize it, but they have these little doors that open, so that's really cute. So that's what you see me little fiddling around here, is I'm just pulling those doors open a little bit so that they kind of pop out. So now I just got to kind of decide what I want to do with these die cuts on the cards, and then I realized that I really wanted to ink the die cut. So again, I just grabbed my ink and I'm just inking the edges of these just to make sure that there's no white cardstock showing through from where it's been cut. These little houses are so cute, and they also come with little matching rooftops. So I'm just taking the same cardstock, but when I flip it over, it has a lighter side, and I'm just cutting out some roofs so that I can put them on top of my little houses and add a little bit of contrast. So I'm just inking the edges of those, and then I can assemble my houses. So I'm just going to use my liquid adhesive just to attach those roofs onto the houses. And I found that it was easy to kind of hold up the little house and to fit the roof onto it when I was holding it. It worked a little bit better that way to make sure that it was all lined up, and it gave me a little bit of time to kind of move it around and make sure that it wasn't positioned wrong. Next, I'm just putting them in place onto the card, and I'm trying to decide what else that I want to do here. I ended up pulling out stamp set CS235 All the Details. This is actually a retired stamp, but you might be able to find it at a local craft store if you're looking for it. And then I wanted to use that same card so that it matched nicely. I'm just stamping this little stamp here, which unfortunately I wasn't doing a very good job with stamping. So anyway, I stamped it a few times, and then I used one of the dies from the frame Journal XL2 file to cut it out. And then I actually found that it was easier to cut it out first and then stamp it. I don't know why I was struggling so much with getting a nice clean stamped image, but it just wasn't my day, I guess. And because I'm using Distress Oxide, I wanted to make sure that my stamped image was dried. So that's why I'm just waving things around, just trying to make sure that it's not going to go and smudge on me, because I don't have patience to wait or to take out my heat tool and actually dry it properly. So anyway, I've just got those all cut out. And then as you see, I'm going to re-stamp that one sentiment onto the blank one. So now that I've got everything stamped and ready to go, I can start to assemble the cards. So I'm going to start by attaching my base. And I did decide to go ahead and use that pattern paper up so that the back is blank, and then that will allow me later on to put my stamp on the back where I can label my ATC card with its title and date and description and all of that stuff. I don't have that stamp yet, so I can't do it now, but once I get that stamp, I will be adding those. And then I'm going to just start attaching all of my little pieces here. So I'm putting the little houses down. I'm making sure that I don't put any adhesive on the doors because I do want them to be able to not necessarily open, but to not be fixed down so that they kind of stick out a tiny bit. And next I'm moving on to the trees. So I'm just attaching them to the bottom of the card as well. I'm spreading them out a little bit just so it creates a little bit of a nice scene along the bottom of that card. Then once all my die cuts are on the cards, then I need to figure out where I'm actually going to put these little stamped sayings, and I was going to ink the edges of them, but I decided that they actually look better without being inked. I think mainly because the ink is all the same color, so it looks better without it. I decided to attach this one so that it's hanging off. It creates a nice little bit of balance with the houses because they're on the right and it's on the left. And I was going to do the same for the next card, but it just didn't look right, so I ended up just putting it in the middle, just the same as I did with the trees, and they look really cute that way. So then as I was putting these into the pockets, I realized that I needed to score this still. So I grabbed my scoreboard. I was just measuring that to see what the measurement should be. And I figured out that I should score it at 3 3/4. And because I want it to fold with the pattern piece on the inside, I'm scoring it from the back side. It was a little bit hard because it's so thick, which is why I pulled out my ruler. It did end up kind of cracking on the back side as well, especially once I ran my bone folder over it because it's just really thick. I put my cards back in there and I thought I needed to do something with the back because it was cracked. So I grabbed out that washi tape that I used on the edge, and I thought, oh, I should put some washi tape on that one side as well. So I put that down there, and then both sides match. I hadn't done it originally because there was already tape there, but you couldn't see the tape anymore with all the stenciling over top of it. So then I used the same washi tape on the back, and then that covers up this crack that's there. I just put 3 pieces on it because it is quite thin. So basically I put it down the middle and then I put one on each side to make sure it would hold that washi tape there. I trimmed that up, and then my little cards and my page are all done. I really hope that you do enjoy this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and have yourself a wonderful day.